It's a question a lot of folks ask me. How do you answer a sex question when a kid asks you, but you're not their parent? You might be a professional who works with youth, or an aunt or uncle, or a neighbor, or a friend, and a kid asks you, where do babies come from? How do you respond? Should you tell their parents they've asked this question? What's the best response or approach to this? There are a large variety of scenarios for how a non-parent would get asked a sex question, and if you'd like to get specific advice, please don't hesitate to reach out to me for a one-on-one consult. Because there isn't a one-size-fits-all answer here, let's talk about 3 considerations to help you decide on how to proceed if a kid, not your kid, asks you a sex question. I'm Kathleen, and I make videos for parents on how to have the modern-day sex talks. It's very important to be aware and know when a child's sex question is age appropriate and aligns with child development. Many adults think that kids don't know or have ever heard of the word sex until they're somewhere in the middle school age range, when actually it's more common for kids to ask what is sex in the intermediate age, ages 7, 8, and 9. Being trained on how to identify potential child abuse and neglect and the procedures for mandatory reporting in your state or country is essential if you're working with youth. But also, knowing when sex questions are asked out of genuine curiosity due to normal child development, and when sex questions are asked due to potential child abuse. I'll be approaching this video from the perspective that you've been following me here for a while, and you're aware of the age ranges for many sex questions, and you've identified that the question you've been asked is out of genuine curiosity and not potential child abuse. Anybody who works with kids knows that kids are curious, and when they ask a question, the inevitable why follow-up question will happen. It's important to think about how far down the hole of questions do you want to go. For example, let's take the question, where do babies come from? The follow-up questions tend to be, how did the baby get into the uterus? How does the baby get out? If the sperm and egg cell need to come together and the sperm cell is in one person's body and the egg cell is in another person's body, how does the sperm and egg meet? So no matter the sex question that you've been asked, there's usually, not always, but most of the time, loads of follow-up questions to come. Any professional who works with kids on a regular basis knows that they need to establish personal and professional boundaries with those kids. For example, there's usually a space where the adults can go and take a break, but the kids are not allowed. Or there's a boundary that's been put in place around access to the professional's phone number, address, and social media accounts. Having boundaries is a good thing in order to ensure your comfort at the workplace. It also gives you the space to maintain a relationship with the kids, yet not feel uncomfortable to say, I won't answer that question because it falls outside the scope of our group's agreements. To put this in perspective, when I was a sex ed teacher, one of my boundaries was no personal questions. This allowed me to easily say, I'm not going to answer that question because it's a personal question and we agreed to not ask personal questions. Some parents will say it's not your place to answer a child's sex question, while others will say it takes a village to raise a child. There's a few ways to proceed here. If you're a professional working with kids and many of the kids are asking the same sex questions, clearly some sex ed is needed. Approaching the organization that you work for, as well as informing the parents of the following questions that have been asked recently, shows the need for some education. Maybe offer to have a sex ed teacher come in and teach a few lessons. Or give parents some resources on where they can go to brush up on how to answer specific questions. Or recommend some books that they can have at home that can help to answer these questions. If you're looking for a list of recommended books for a variety of ages, I have some affiliate links in the description, which simply means at no cost to you, if you use the link to purchase the book, I receive a small commission. The next approach is to inform the parent of the child what question has been asked and to let them know that it is a common question that is generally asked at this age and you'd like to know how to proceed. If you feel comfortable, share with them how you would answer that question. Let them know that their child's curiosity is normal and that many kids their age have asked this question, but because this question falls into sex education, you've encouraged the child to go to their parent and ask the question. And also remind the parents that many kids may feel uncomfortable going to their parents and asking these questions. Therefore, it may be on the parent to bring up this question. So what should you say when a child asks you a sex question? A simple and effective response is, that's a really great question for your parents. What do you think? And then you pose the question back to them. Oftentimes, kids ask other adults these questions because they feel uncomfortable or unsafe asking their own parents. Some parents want to be the one that answers their kids' sex questions, while other parents would prefer not to have those talks. So just find out which parent they are. And parents, you can be proactive as well in letting others know that if your child was to ask them a sex question, you would prefer that they come back to you. And parents, if you find out that your kid has asked a sex question to another adult, don't be ashamed or embarrassed. Just simply start having the sex talks at home. I'm Kathleen, and I'll be back next week with another video.